What is sexual battery? Extant power. Sexual battery is a serious crime that can have long-lasting effects on its victims. It is important to understand what sexual battery is, what its legal consequences are, and what steps can be taken to prevent it. This video will cover the basics of sexual battery and provide resources for victims of this crime. Introduction to sexual battery. Sexual battery is a form of sexual violence that involves unwanted and non-consensual touching of another person's private body parts for sexual gratification or for the purpose of causing harm. It is considered a serious crime in all states and carries significant penalties. Sexual battery is an umbrella term that covers a wide range of activities, including rape and sexual assault. It can occur between strangers, acquaintances, or family members, and it can include physical touching, verbal abuse, or psychological manipulation. Sexual battery is often seen as a women's issue, but it is important to remember that it can happen to anyone regardless of gender, age, or sexual orientation. To effectively combat sexual battery, it is essential to understand what it is and the various forms it can take. Definition and types of sexual battery. The legal definition of sexual battery varies by state, but generally, it is defined as any non-consensual touching of a person's private parts for sexual gratification or to cause harm. This includes oral, anal, or vaginal contact as well as any touching of the breasts, buttocks, or other intimate parts of the body. Sexual battery can take many forms, including unwanted sexual advances, unwanted sexual touching, coercion or threats to engage in sexual activity, sexual harassment, voyeurism, non-consensual taking of nude or sexual photos, forced sexual intercourse. It is important to remember that sexual battery is not limited to physical contact. It can also involve verbal abuse or psychological manipulation, such as pressuring someone to engage in sexual activity. Legal consequences of sexual battery. The legal consequences of sexual battery vary by state, but in general, it is considered a felony and can result in significant penalties. Those convicted of sexual battery can face jail time, hefty fines, and mandatory registration as a sex offender. In addition to criminal charges, victims of sexual battery may be eligible to file civil lawsuits against their assailants. These lawsuits can result in financial compensation for damages such as medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Potential penalties for sexual battery. The penalties for sexual battery depend on the severity of the crime and the state in which it was committed. Generally, those convicted of sexual battery face jail time and hefty fines. In some cases, they may be required to register as a sex offender for life. The potential penalties for sexual battery are jail time of up to 20 years, fines of up to $10,000, probation, required counseling, restitution to victims, mandatory registration as a sex offender, defenses against sexual battery charges. If you have been charged with sexual battery, there are a few potential defenses that may be available to you. The most common defense is that the victim consented to the activity or that the activity was misinterpreted. In some cases, it may be possible to argue that the activity was accidental or that the defendant did not have the intent to commit a sexual battery. It is important to remember that each case is unique and that the best course of action will depend on the facts of the case. It is highly recommended to seek legal advice from an experienced attorney if you have been charged with sexual battery. Prevention of sexual battery. The best way to prevent sexual battery is to educate yourself and others about the crime. It is important to understand the signs of sexual assault and to be aware of potential triggers. It is also important to be aware of the laws in your state regarding sexual battery and to know the steps to take if you or someone you know has been the victim of sexual assault. This includes knowing the resources available to victims of sexual assault and understanding your legal rights. Finally, it is important to be aware of the potential consequences of sexual battery and to take steps to protect yourself and those around you. This includes being aware of your surroundings, avoiding risky situations, and speaking up if you feel uncomfortable. Resources for victims of sexual battery. If you or someone you know has been the victim of sexual battery, there are resources available to help. It is important to seek help as soon as possible to ensure that your rights are protected and that you receive the support you need. The following organizations provide resources for victims of sexual assault: RAIN, Rape, Abuse and Incest National Network, National Sexual Violence Resource Center, National Center for Victims of Crime, National Organization for Victim Assistance. In addition, many states have laws that provide additional resources and protections to victims of sexual battery. It is important to check with your local law enforcement agency or a legal expert to learn more about your state's laws. Conclusion. It is important to be aware of the signs of sexual battery and to take steps to protect yourself and those around you. If you or someone you know has been the victim of sexual battery, please reach out for help. There are resources available to help you through this difficult time. Visit our website, www.extonpower.com.